Buckle up because today we're going to be talking about some controversial opinions about the no contact rule. Should you do it, especially after something like begging, some major mistakes that maybe you've made? This is what we're going to be talking about in this video. This, of course, is probably not going to be along the lines of what you have heard from other sorts of videos if you've watched any of those about no contact or anything like that. So get ready. First of all, if this is the first video of mine that you've seen, hello, my name is Clay. I'm with modernlove.life. I've been helping people to save their relationships since 2009. I've been here on YouTube since 2011, and we're, of course, here to help you get the loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not, because you deserve to be loved for the unique, amazing, and wonderful person that you are. Okay, so again, if you are new to this whole breakup world, if you have just gone through some sort of breakup, you may have made some mistakes in the early stages of that breakup. You know, begging and pleading, promising up and down things are different, texting or calling, way too often, all sorts of things. You know, doing things to try to win your partner's love back. You know, grand romantic gestures, very expensive gifts, wedding proposals, things like that, right? And these are, I think, common enough sorts of things that people do. And I'm not saying this to make you feel bad or anything, because again, I have been there. I have done many of these things as well when I was going through breakups and in that sort of initial shock phase as well too. However, you know, as we've talked about on this channel for a while, as subscribers of this channel know, these sorts of things cause more emotional reactance. They cause more emotional resistance that your partner may feel towards you. And you know, if that's a little bit over your head, I think it's pretty clear that you have probably figured out through your own trial and error, through your own personal experience, that begging and pleading does not work. It does not get you the relationship that you want. All of these sorts of common things that people do in that sort of initial panic place, they often do more harm than good. I think that is a fact that we can all basically agree on here. So, with all that being said, that causes a lot of people to start to look around and think of maybe other things that they should do. You know, they get on the internet and they search for answers and they come across this thing called the no contact rule. And, you know, at least for me, when I first heard about it, it seemed so inverted, so counterintuitive, so the opposite of what I instinctively and intuitively wanted to do, that I didn't really like the idea of it. You know, I thought that the connection that I had with my ex, the sort of frayed and strained connection that we had, was the only thing keeping us together at that point in time, and that if I were to somehow cut contact with her, that she would move on and forget me. And so, you know, there is a lot of resistance to this. And again, don't get me wrong, there is a time and place for no contact, but unlike a lot of people out there, I don't believe that everyone needs to go through no contact. I don't believe that no contact is some sort of cure all. I do not believe that they always come back and that no contact works 100% of the time. I think that no contact works 100% of the time, 50% of the time, but it doesn't work 100% of the time. I've talked to way too many people who have gone through no contact, and it has absolutely not caused their ex to reconsider things. It has not caused their ex to reach out to them. It has not caused their ex to come crawling back to them over broken shards of glass, etc. So please do not believe that no contact is a magic cure-all. However, if you have gone through this process of making a lot of mistakes in the early stages of a breakup, you know, you may have experienced this sort of big emotional setback that you've had when it comes to connecting with your partner because of things like begging and pleading, calling or texting way too often, grand romantic gestures, etc. And so you might think that you have to do this. You have to do this to show them a new side of you and to demonstrate to them that you are no longer needy, no longer clingy, no longer going to beg and plead and all that sort of stuff. And I understand that. I understand where that is coming from. However, we want to take a step back and look at the big picture here to really understand where we are and what we need to do moving forward, because many times you don't actually need to use no contact. Let's get into that in just a moment. But before we do, If you do like these videos that I put out, please gently, ever so delicately tickle the thumbs up button with your finger, with your mouse, with your cursor, with whatever. This is a totally free way to support the channel, and it does help us out. Additionally, if you're not already on our email newsletter, or if you don't already know if your relationship can be saved at all, please go ahead and check out modernlove.life/quiz. There's a short assessment you can take. Just give us a little bit of background information about your relationship. Like how long ago it was. Is there a rebound in the picture? Just some basic stuff. It should only take you a moment or two to fill out the assessment, and it will then generate our sort of take on what your next steps are, how realistic or how difficult it might be to save your relationship, etc. Again, that's over at modernlove.life/quiz. Okay. So once again, you may have made some mistakes. You may have done some begging and pleading, etc. Now, granted, this, of course, is going to increase their suspicion of you. This is going to increase their belief that there is an ulterior motive, that everything that you're saying and doing is orchestrated just to get them back together. And you might be thinking, yeah, of course, that is what I want. I want to get back together. But the thing is if they believe that you don't care about them, you're not willing to meet them where they're at emotionally, you're not willing to listen to them and to receive what they're saying emotionally, and that you only want to be back together with them, they are going to shut down, close off, and pull back further and further from you. Okay. And so we have to reverse this dynamic, because when you do a lot of begging and pleading, that is going to increase their suspicion. That is going to increase their belief that you have an ulterior motive and all that sort of stuff. So we need to reverse this. Now, granted, no contact is one way that you can reverse this, okay? Because obviously, if you were to beg and plead and all that sort of stuff, disappear off the face of the earth for, let's just say, a month, because that's sort of generally what most people recommend for no contact. And then you come back on the scene. Now you have essentially sort of flushed away that memory. They probably still remember it, but you flushed away the recency, I guess, of the begging and pleading. And now you can come to them and say, hey, I now have a level head. I've gotten over the intensity of the breakup. I've gotten through my emotions, and now we can connect normally. That is, of course, one way that you can do this. However, they are still probably going to be suspicious if you did begging and pleading, if you did grand romantic gestures, if you did, text or call them multiple times per day. And by multiple, I mean, like 10, 20, 30 times per day, like way over probably what a regular person would do. And so you're going to have to still demonstrate to them that you're not this person who's so out of touch with where they're at that they have to wall themselves off from you and defend themselves from you and sort of close their hearts to you. You're still going to have to do that. But the thing is that you can do this. You can move forward from this without doing no contact. Okay. Now, granted, you may still need to, be away from them for a certain period of time, because you can't just do this 180 kind of turn where it's like, yes, today I'm begging and pleading you, and tomorrow I'm going to be like Mr. Cool and Mr. Relaxed and be totally, detached from outcome. That is an unbelievable sort of turn of events, and it's going to still cause them to be suspicious. But you do not need to do no contact for like a month or multiple weeks or anything like that. Even just, stepping back for maybe a weekend, maybe this weekend, or even just a couple days or something like that, just going silent, turning your attention inward, and then reevaluating what you think. And then you can come back to them and say, hey, I've had I've had some time over the past couple of days to think about this, and I get it. I accept that you want to break up, and I accept that we had some issues in our relationship, and I get it. And then, of course, from there, you can go into the same team conversation. You can then go to establish better communication between the two of you. You can then go on to start rebuilding the emotional bond and connection that the two of you have. You do not need to go through this sort of white knuckle, trial by fire, agonizing month-long journey of no contact, because whether you have some sort of brief period where you simply allow yourself to reflect, even whether you decide to just not do that at all and just say, okay, today I'm begging and pleading. Tomorrow I've had this revelation where now I can bring myself to our interactions in a much more balanced way. I mean, like that could even work as well too. You don't even need to necessarily go no contact for an extended period of time or even a couple of days. But just know that when you come out of that and you propose the same team conversation, that is how you can kind of start to get past that suspicion. Because no matter whether you go no contact for multiple days, a couple days, or even just skip it entirely, they are going to understandably be skeptical and understandably be a little bit suspicious about where this is coming from. And is this a legitimate change? But if you do things like open up the communication, reduce the romantic pressure, and things like that, through things like having the same team conversation, then that is a very disarming thing. And it does start the road towards building things back together. But make no mistake about it, doing no contact by itself is not a cure all. On the other side of all of that, you're still going to have to do all the things that we talk about. We're going to talk about it right over here in this video here. But this is a strategy that you can use to get back together with them without using no contact. So many of my clients have done this. You can do this too. This makes sense because it addresses the core root about what's going on in your relationship and how to get it back on track. So go ahead and check it out. I'll see you over there.